Between the ages of 5 and 12 months old, and most commonly at 6 months old, Hindu babies have their Annaprasan Sanskar. Anna means boiled rice and prasan means feeding, so it is the initiation of a baby to eating of solid food. Something I have learnt is that Indians are foodies. They enjoy eating and discussing food much more than we do in the West. And who can blame you? Indian food is super tasty. Being half Indian, it came as no surprise that Heramba was showing all the signs of wanting food from about the age of 5 months old. From trying to put everything in sight into his mouth, to practicing the chewing movement over and over again, and from staring intently at us while we were eating, to grabbing at my arm and pulling it down with all his might to bring whatever was in my hand to his mouth. I'll tell you more about his Annaprasan Sanskar and favourite foods, and also the role of food in Hinduism generally in a moment. Before then, just a gentle reminder to please like this video and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Twitter at English_Behen. A few days after Heramba turned 6 months old, as his first little tooth began to come through, we conducted his Annaprasan Sanskar. Because a new wave of coronavirus is sweeping fast across the UK, the Panditji conducted the ceremony virtually. We gathered the items required for the ceremony: a red cloth, coins, kumkum, chandan, gulal powder, steel utensils, pani, chawal, fool, fal, wheat, nariyal, badam, kaju, pista, elaichi, long, a diya, and crucially kheer and panchamrut of doodh, curd, ghee, chini and honey. As is done at the beginning of every puja, we first invoked Bhagwan Ganesh, who is Heramba's namesake. We then followed Panditji's instructions on how to prepare our murti of Bhagwan Ganesh, who would then watch over the Annaprasan, washing him in water, applying tilak, and offering the various eatables and flowers. Mantras were recited and prayers made before the climax of the ceremony, which was feeding Heramba his very first solid food, kheer, followed by panchamrut. We could tell that the texture of the kheer came as quite a surprise to him, whereas he straight away just loved the panchamrut. He clearly has a sweet tooth, just like Ganeshji. In the 2 weeks since the Sanskar ceremony, Heramba has loved trying lots of new foods, including gobi, hari beans, broccoli, aloo kachalu, kheera, courgettes, gajar, swede, parsnips, tomato, kela, seb, nashpati, persimmon fruit, peach, plum, nectarine, moong dal, chana hummus, pasta, porridge, cereal and toast. His favourites seem to be hari beans, parsnips, gajar, kheera and seb. It's all a very messy business, but he has a lot of fun. Heramba particularly enjoys shuffling fast on his belly to try to enter the mandir. That's because he knows that's where there is ghee for the diya and prasad available. He is a true ghee and prasad chor, no doubt. Compared to the UK, India is a nation of foodies. Of course, people in the UK enjoy to eat food, but in India it's much more than that. In India, there is a celebratory attitude towards food. It is a strong source of family bonding, talking and sharing, and it often dominates the conversation with friends and family. There is the belief that the family that eats together stays together, and evidence would suggest that is correct. Compared to the average person in the West, the average person in India has amazing knowledge of different foods. When I first met my husband, I was surprised to see him able to differentiate different spices from just looking at them, or from just smelling them, or from just tasting them. I didn't know what most of them were, and even when I did know their names, I found it very difficult to tell them apart just by tasting them. They all just tasted strong and spicy. I have been even more inspired to learn that all my Indian family members intuitively know which spices can be mixed with which, how different foods should or should not be cooked, etc., so that they are more easy to digest and make you feel better. Indeed, Hindus are blessed with immense knowledge of Ayurveda, the science of life. Bhagwan Brahma conceived Ayurveda, and some account of it is described in the Rig Veda and much more in the Atha Veda. But it is the Samhitas that provide the most systematic and comprehensive knowledge. The Samhitas remain staple compendiums for Ayurvedic practitioners today. The complete knowledge of Ayurveda conveyed in the Samhitas was passed from Bhagwan Brahma to his disciple Daksha Prajapat, who handed it down to Rishi Atreya. This knowledge was later codified and edited by Rishi Atreya's student Agnivesha, and later by Charaka and Dhanvantari, an avatar of Bhagwan Vishnu. Thus, the Charaka Samhita and Susrata Samhita were compiled. On my first visit to India 6 years ago, I was introduced to all my husband's friends and family. It was therefore unsurprising that I left India somewhat heavier than I arrived. This is because when you visit an Indian home, you will always be offered food before anything else. Atiti Devo Bhava, which means the guest is Bhagwan, and it is a great honour to nourish Bhagwan. Hindus believe everything in this existence is Brahman, the single absolute reality, the Atma or true self within each life form and natural entity, assumes one life form after another according to our interconnected karma. That is why all people, all life forms and all of nature are connected and should be treated with respect and compassion. Our actions upon other life forms and entities of this Maya create karma that we have to undo in future lives. As the Manusmriti says, meat can never be obtained without injury to living creatures, and injury to sentient beings is detrimental to the attainment of heavenly bliss. Hindus also believe this Maya or illusion of the physical world of Prakriti we see, hear, smell, taste and touch around us is expressed in 3 modes or gunas: sattva or purity, rajas or activity, and tamas or darkness and destruction. Eating sattvic food helps us become sattvic ourselves. The Bhagavad Gita says sattva food increases the duration of life, purifies one's existence and gives strength, health, happiness and satisfaction. Such foods are wholesome and pleasing to the heart. However, when we eat high quantities of tamasic foods, including animal and intoxicating foods, we may develop animal qualities. For these reasons, to be sensitive to all life forms and reduce our karma and tamasic nature, India is home to the highest percentage of vegetarians in the world. But unlike the Abrahamic religions, Hinduism is rarely black and white. Hinduism instead provides you with a framework with which you can ascertain what is dharmic or not. That is why it is not forbidden to eat non-veg. It is just not recommended because of the karma and tamas it creates for you. i.e. it is detrimental to attaining moksha, or realization of your true divine nature, which is the purpose of life. Because of industrialization today, eating non-veg creates a lot of karma. For example, male chicks are of no use for egg or meat production, and so are killed almost immediately after hatching. They are either thrown into an industrial grinder while still alive or gassed to death. So if we do choose to consume non-veg, we must do it mindfully and in the most compassionate way possible. This will minimize the karma we create. This is exactly what the traditional Hindu model of living with cows and considering them as your mother does. It creates a symbiotic relationship between the cows and the humans, where the cows benefit from our love, care, food and shelter, and the humans benefit from her love, as well as respectively sharing her milk, never at the expense of her calves. Compare this to what happens in dairy farms around the world today. Calves are usually taken away from their mothers within 24 hours of birth, causing immense distress for both mother and calf. The mother endures this 4 or 5 times before she is considered spent. Similar to chicks, newborn male calves are either killed shortly after birth or sent away to be reared for veal. Newborn females follow the fate of their mothers, milked continually throughout their lives, making them susceptible to mastitis, a painful udder infection for which they are usually killed rather than treated. Dairy products undeniably are very rich in nutrients, and that is why the Hindu diet would ideally consist of plenty of it. However, we must be mindful of the distress and pain we are creating for our mother, Gau Mata Agnaya, when we consume products of modern industrialized farms. This will be creating significant karma. So that is Heramba Veer's next Sanskar completed, his Annaprasan Sanskar. All of these Sanskars are setting him up for a life of dharmic living. And the Annaprasan Sanskar in particular is setting him up for a life of sattvic thought, as well as the strength and health to fight for dharma, to fulfill his duty as a Kshatriya.